Well, welcome everybody. This is the next episode of Supply Chain Channel podcast. I have here with me Tiago Oliveira. I'm getting that right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Okay. He's the business development manager of Knapp. Also, did I get that right?
Yes,
Knapp.
Knapp.
When I first saw the name, I'm like, it's Knapp. And then your marketing manager did correct me a few times. I'm like, Knapp. Okay. That's
Yeah. It's in German.
Is
it's
it
in German? That's why. So pronounce K.
K. Pronounce K. Okay. Good to know. All right. Tiago, I had a little look up on you before I had to get on this chat. And you're originally from Brazil.
Yes, correct. I'm Brazilian.
So, Tiago Oliveira.
a very Brazilian name
Very
for
Brazilian.
other Brazilians. So I would say if you met another Tiago, it's very likely that will be a guy from late 80s, 90s. For some reason why there was a lot of Tiagos. There was no special football player back then.
Yeah.
No, I asked my dad. So it's just a popular name.
Popular name.
Yeah, popular name.
Then how did you end up here? As in, I saw also you were in Brazil. Then you went to, was it New Zealand?
New Zealand. That's right.
Then,
so
how's the journey? How did you end up here?
2014. Well, I'm my background is automation. I always work with automation. I was very lucky to work with big players, even in Brazil. And 2010, from 2010 to 2014, I was working with one of the companies, a German company. And most of the projects that I was doing, I was working with a team from New Zealand. And I ended up moving companies in Brazil. But one day, one of my friends just called me and said, "Hey, we have a role here that's for you. Do you want to come?" So that's how I ended up in New Zealand. So I never had intentions to be living in Australia, but life happens. So I was in New Zealand. We were thinking about staying in New Zealand and build our life over there. And suddenly, okay, but there's something else that needs to be done and needs to be Melbourne. So we just jumped the ditch and here we are.
Well, that's how we all ended up here, right? Like I just read recently that Australia is one of the most diverse countries in the world, with over 50% of the population being born outside of Australia. So I'm immigrant here, and so are you, and living the life. So life takes us many places, and
exactly.
we're out here.
It's interesting looking back because I never thought about it being in Australia. Of course, when we moved to New Zealand, then you start becoming more used with that idea. Oh, maybe here it's my place. That's where I'm gonna get my roots. But well, now I'm here.
Now you're here. All right. So I had a little look, and I was there during your sharing session earlier with CDC with Mike.
Yes, correct.
And so one of the things that we understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, as I'm trying to learn a bit more about supply chain here, is so what is zero-touch fulfillment?
Well, Zero-Touch Fulfilment, it's actually a principle, a concept that the Knapp have been developing the last few years, with this whole idea of looking systematically to your whole supply chain process and find when you're adding value to your customer. Sounds very complex in beginning, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much just take the big problem, break down in little chunks and say, okay, are we adding value on this? It makes sense to automate this, or it's better to keep it extremely flexible, which when makes sense to have a person doing that. In the end of the day, when we're talking about automation, that's the main difference is we should think out automation for things that are repeatable, things that happen on a constant base that we can predict.
Yeah.
But when you need like the flexibility known, it needs to be extremely customizable. It needs to be flexible. That's when automation becomes the hurdle, because it's really hard for you to map out the whole range of possibilities which a human can offer.
Right.
And that's the main thing, So automation will never beat the flexibility of a human. But we're getting very close to be very, very compatible for things that humans don't do the best, which is repeatable actions.
Right. So do you think that there's a role for, touch fulfillment in all supply chains, or that's also, again, subjective?
I think it is, because we are moving to a point that everyone is seeing that it's not enough to try to compete on price. You need to enhance the capabilities for your client.
Yeah.
You need to make that buck worth more. And that's the point. So there's always things that if you look systematically across your range of actions or your range of process, you will see there's things that are repeatable. So it's very likely that those actions or those processes that are repeatable, we might have some sort of a level of automation that can help you out.
Yeah, so one of the key themes that are prevalent throughout the Retail Fulfillment Summit 2025 is customer experience. So how do you like integrate that? As in, does Knapp apply that to its processes or the way that it works?
For instance, majority of our systems we're dealing about receiving a product, handling that product, and shipping the product, right? One way to increase customer experience, let's say that you work with high-end items, luxury brands, and things like that. You're not only buying the product itself. A lot of customers, they are buying the experience of that product. So how do you open the box? How the box is laid down? How the product comes and it's presented to you? So there are some technologies that we today can use and can implement in systems that can help you to still achieve high efficiency and high throughput, but still preserving those kind of very important things that are valuable for your customer. For instance, I'm pretty sure if you're paying $500 into a cosmetic, you don't want to get your box dented or scratched or things like that. So how we as the supply chain partner can provide you the throughput that you require, but is still guaranteeing this kind of perfect conditions for your end customer. So those are the touches that we as Knapp can offer you when we think about this customer experience, for instance.
All right. So talking about automation and process, I have to come to the buzzword AI. As in, I didn't come to you in the first time. On the first question, fifth question in, kind of warm you up. So how does AI play into this role, as in into this automation that you guys are discussing and bringing about?
For us, of course, the term AI, it's something it's very trendy at the moment. But we've been using machine learning a long time.
Yeah.
The only way we were not just promoting as AI. For instance, today, you mentioned about my presentation, we were talking about the Pick robot, which is our single item picking machine that we've been promoting for more than 5 years. And we are constantly using machine learning on that equipment just to improve it. The only thing is we were just not saying, hey, look at it's AI empowered, AI do this and AI do that. Of course, the whole thing of the machine learning and the machine modules that have been released for the whole range of, a lot of people never heard about AI 5 years ago. And I'm pretty sure most of us have at least a broad idea what AI is capable of today. But there's still like a misconception what AI is really doing and what other things they are only branded as AI are doing on the background. So we are very conservative of saying this is AI, this is AI, this is AI, because in the end of the day, well, if you're using machine learning, you're using AI, but we just don't want to create the false impression on our audience, on our partners, that our systems will be the Skynet and take over the world, because that's not the case. It's not the case yet.
It sounds very, very German. I have worked in a German company before, so they don't overpromise. It is what it is.
Well, I think that's one of the things I like to work for Knapp. We try to be very transparent, very honest with our partners, and we always say we prefer to promise the Atlas and deliver the world than do the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I learned about, I was working in a Bertelsmann Media Group, and the word that my manager used to use is genau. So it's not correct. It's exactly correct.
Correct.
I'm like, yes, very German.
I would say if you learn German, that will be probably one of the first terms that you're gonna be hearing, because it's the reinforcement for everything they use. Yes, they don't say, oh yeah, that's it. No, they use exactly. Yeah. So that makes a difference.
I know, it's good. I understand a little bit about that one. So I would say, maybe can you share with us what are some common challenges you think companies will face? We've talked about the benefits of doing zero-touch fulfillment, and maybe some companies can benefit, sometimes cannot. But what would be some challenges that they would face, and how to overcome those challenges if they want to get into this?
Here in Australia, we are very lucky to be in this country. But one of the things that we understand, like getting people working in a DC, it's hard now, and it will get harder and harder, right? So how can you find the right tune? How you can find the right balance? Because in the end of the day, your business case needs to make sense, right? So find the right solution that fits to your business case or to solve your problem. So one of the things that we do, we don't preach the same solution for every single problem, because that's not real,
Yeah.
right? There's no single solution for complex products. For complex problem, you need to work with a range of solutions that you can kind of. I always use the analogy of the Lego blocks. We're lucky that we have a lot of different Lego blocks, but how we set it up to the final product to fit to solve your problem, it's unique to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're still coming back and started from the standard Lego blocks, but how we configure them to solve your problem is unique. But going back to your question, I think not only manpower and finding people interested to work in this kind of environment nowadays, which is tricky. Of course, costs and this whole idea that automation is not for me because I'm not big enough. Oh, automation is just for the Amazons and the big guys. We are preaching actually the opposite, saying no. Everyone can benefit of automation to a specific level. You just need to find this specific level to your system. But everyone can benefit of automation because everyone is doing a process. Everyone is receiving material, handling material, and send it out. In the end of the day, we just need to find what makes sense for your process. And that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Another theme that we cover a lot, and I think right now one of the speakers talking about sustainability, and when this topic is not just unique to retail, but it is one of the biggest kind of things. If I'm not wrong, fashion is one of the biggest polluters in the world because of quick, fast fashion. You create so how does zero fulfillment help, or how is its involvement with this process for sustainability?
There's a lot of things that we do, a lot of fronts that we try to keep in mind when we're designing an equipment with that in mind, with the sustainability approach or the sustainability touch when we are designing something. But for instance, just the fact that we are trying to be as compact as possible when you're packing your product. So instead of having one box that fits all, and you're gonna be sending or a shirt or shoes, that doesn't make any sense anymore.
So many
right?
times,
Exactly. So we need to provide a solution that's flexible enough to provide you just enough coverage, just enough package. Because first of all, we don't want to be moving air around. We don't want to lose all that space. And if you can fit products in one truck instead of two trucks, you're not only saving costs, but you're definitely helping the environment as well. So things like that kind of drive us in the background. So, okay, what's the level of sustainability that we can think about it? What else can we do it? I would say this whole sustainability challenge, it might be the largest challenge of our generation moving forward. We know that it's there's no way for us to be running into this society of unlimited production while the resources are limited, right? Discount doesn't make sense. So we will need to find ways to educate our consumers to say, hey, instead of having a shirt every 2 weeks, you should have maybe a shirt every 6 months. So you probably can afford to pay a little bit more for that shirt if that shirt can last 6 months. So it's a kind of a transactional thing and change mentality, change culture, which takes a long time. But it's clear for everyone that that's not sustainable on the long run. And I think that might be the biggest challenge of our generation.
Yeah, sure. So gonna switch before I switch lanes for a little bit. And last question for Knapp. What I would like you to give you a shameless plug for Knapp. What would you like to say to our listeners about what Knapp is and why they should consider what you guys have? You have 30 seconds. Don't waste it. Don't go too far.
30 seconds. Okay, good.
Let's go.
Why Knapp? Because first of all, we hear you. We try to find a solution that fits for you, and we're really keen to make things work for you. We don't have customers. We have partners, and we're really, really honest on this. We think that every solution that we propose is the best solution that we can come up with within that time and that framework that's given. So we are we are honestly partners. And when the two parts are really keen to find a solution, we always find a solution. And that's why you're looking for us. We are very open and we are very keen to make partnerships work.
All right, cool. Personally, I don't want to get that the viewers understand and know you a bit better. So, what do you do to relax? What are some things you do to kick back on your
Okay.
days off?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not the most sporty guy. I know I'm a Brazilian. I should know to play soccer, but I don't. Unfortunately. That's like one of the shames of my life. I know that, but I really enjoy. For instance, I really enjoy aviation. I really enjoy going for hikes on the bush spend time with friends. I'm being a Brazilian. We have a very different lenses for what life is, especially with family and friends, extended family. So yeah, we're very close to our ones.
Yeah.
We like this kind of a close relationship. So we try to nurture this kind of a relationship. It's a building process.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the more you spend, it takes time and
Yep.
it takes effort. And I'm definitely of a process. I'm definitely a person that believes that I work hard on my relationships with my friends and my family. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was gonna follow up that question with who is the greatest Brazilian football player, but I don't know. Do you have an answer for that?
Of course, Pelé by far.
By far.
Pelé by far. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
No question about
agree.
it.
I agree. I just wanted to ask to know, just in case. Then last question here is, what would be, if let's say there have a piece of advice you would give to a younger Tiago, what would that be now that you have this knowledge and insight into your industry or into your life?
Well, I think if I could look back and say, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride, because I consider myself a person that's very lucky. I always had the right opportunities presented to me. One of the things that I know that kind of helped me to shape the way I think and the way I deal with people, it's because I was lucky enough to be mentored and guided by older people, really keen to share the learn and to share the knowledge. And looking back and looking what I am now, I say, Jesus, those guys, they made a big difference. So there's like few players in my life that make the transition. So just be lucky enough to have this in. So that makes a big difference. So enjoy the ride for sure. It's sometimes you don't know why you're doing that thing, but 10 years later they say, that's interesting. Now I know that. And it's good when you have this kind of a little bit of knowledge on your backpack that you can pull out, or a phone number that you say, oh, by the way, maybe I can call this guy and ask him for advice. So this is very important. So building relationships and know that life is a journey. It's not only to reach the peak of the mountain, right? It's enjoy the ride.
All right. Well, Tiago, thank you so much for the time, for
Thank you
the
very
chat.
much, Pete.
Appreciate to have your insights and, of course, hear about Knapp.
Yep.
and only thing I'll say, obrigado.
Obrigado. Yeah, well, you're welcome. Thank you very much.